Is Anna, and I am gratefully recovering from 20 years of opiate addiction, meth, and all the substances, mental illness. Been completely free from all substances, including psych medication, for 4 years. I'm from St. Augustine, Florida, and grew up in kind of a chaotic house. My mom had 5 husbands, and with that came a turnover of different siblings, some adopted, some stepchildren, then removed, and it was just a chaotic household. So, from an early age, I felt like off, or maybe just not seen, like everything else was more important. I know now through my own walk in parenting and growth that they did the best they could with what they had. But an older step sibling introduced me to marijuana at the very young age of 10. And the first time I smoked it, I just remember, oh, this is it. Like, I am now comfortable. I now have freedom to smile and laugh and feel at peace. And with that, I progressed very quickly. My 14th birthday party was a keg party with 8 balls of cocaine, and it was just a rapid progression. By 17, I was completely addicted to cocaine and benzos and thought, oh, I'll join the military. Like, this will solve my problems. I will have purpose, I will have direction. So my mom signed the waiver, and I joined the military at 17 and was quickly asked to leave the military at 19 for failing a drug test. And it just seemed like I couldn't accomplish anything. Everything I put my hand to would fall apart, leaving a trail of destruction and chaos, kind of like what I was raised in. I was just repeating that. My dad was an addict my entire life, in and out of prison, and really a low bottom addict. So even though I wasn't raised with that, I repeated that. I just followed right in his footsteps. In my addiction was many trips to jail all over the country, because I think I didn't want to use where I was from. I wanted to escape. Maybe there was a subconscious thought of like not doing this in front of everyone I knew. And when it came to IV drug use and the lifestyle I was living, it was shameful. And I would steal anything not nailed down. I would do anything for drugs. And so I just bolted. And so left at 19 and lived in Atlanta and Atlantic City, New Orleans, Seattle. I just didn't, everywhere I went that was new, I could recreate myself. No one knew me, and I was a brand new person, and I had a fresh start. So I think that was part of the drive to just travel around. And it's only by the grace of God that I'm not dead for some of the situations I put myself in that addiction in this country. I met my current husband in 2013. I had just come out of jail and had a little bit of a clear mind, and met him at a local restaurant, and shortly thereafter relapsed. And our travel, our journey through active addiction together began. At this point, I had a 3-year-old, and I was doing my very best to try to hold it together. And we started using together. I got pregnant really quickly, checked myself into a rehab in Jacksonville when I was about 3 months pregnant, because I couldn't stay sober. So I finished out my pregnancy there, and after having my son, leaving the rehab, I think when my son was 2 months old, just fell right back into all the same old thing. I was the same person. I didn't have a choice. Like, those cravings and those core beliefs drive you to do the same thing you always did. I didn't have any didn't have the tools to not do what I had always done. What I believed about myself is that that's who I was, that I was incapable of finishing anything, of doing anything productive, of couldn't see myself as a healthy, thriving, successful young woman. I saw the opposite of myself. I hated myself for the things I'd done and how I saw the world, and I was a victim, and it was just chaos. My husband and I lived in chaos and hell for about, I guess, 7 solid years. Both my kids ended up with my mom, and my husband and I ended up splitting. We weren't married this whole time, and so during this time of separation, he was in Florida, and I was kind of lingering in Asheville around where my mom had my kids, and was brutally sexually assaulted by people that I knew and trusted, and I almost died. And at that point, it was a turning point because I had never been so afraid. I'd been sexually assaulted in that lifestyle. It kind of comes with that lifestyle, but I had never been afraid for my life or that I couldn't trust anyone. It just was a real point of brokenness. So I hopped on a Greyhound bus and I came to Florida, and I knocked on my now husband's door, and he was in a similar place of total brokenness. He was surviving. He was working just to use. He had no purpose. He had no food in his house. It was mattress on the floor. We're talking like low bottom addiction. And it was the perfect storm for us to either, we talked about like a double suicide. Um, we were at a place of total surrender. We were either going to succumb to death that was always knocking on our door every time we used, or life. And something rose up in us, and we called out to God, and He saved us. He saved our lives. Within a couple months of me knocking on His door, we decided to get married. And everyone in our family thought, what a horrible idea. You guys are insane. But we did. We got married May 20th, 2021, and petitioned for our kids shortly thereafter. And all of this in hindsight is like, I'm sure to my family it looked like every other time we tried to get it together. And initially for us too, it felt like that. Like, okay, we're going to try again. But something was different. And our life started to get better. And the desire for drugs and alcohol and all the behavior that comes along with active addiction started to change. My husband ordered 2 life recovery Bibles because they were free and had them sent to us in the mail. And I just remember starting to open that and search for a solution. Um, we were we did sign up for the methadone clinic initially because our addiction was so strong and withdrawals were very real, and we had been a part of the methadone clinics before in our journey, and it was never worked for us. But this time something was different, and we stayed consistent. We had one dirty drug screen when we went in, and then from there we just progressed. Clean drug screens, we earned privileges, and we incorporated that into our life. It wasn't the center of our life. And the longer we were there, the more we started to change. By the work we were doing outside of it, we could see this isn't who we are anymore. It's like every time we went in the clinic, we were further and further removed from that identity of who we were when we first went in. And if anything, I could say that finding my identity and my purpose in life was the key to freedom. Because as long as I identified with my brokenness or my mental illness or the things I had done in my past, or even the wrongs that had been wronged me in my childhood, as long as that defined me, it kept me in bondage and it kept me powerless. But the moment I started to realize that that's not who I was, and it certainly isn't who I was created to be, I was able to operate in something else and renewing my mind to the Word of God and who God says I am, not to a religious practice or to checking a box or to trying to be good so I'll be accepted. That's all condemnation and it won't work. But spending time with my creator and letting him define who I am changed my entire world. Experiencing the love of God and what Christ did for me on the cross opened my eyes to a whole nother life, not only mine, but my husband's, both of us, chronic long-term addiction, lost cause, both, um, you know, repeat offenders. And just if you would have asked anyone that knew me 5 years ago, where do you think Anna will be in 5 years? I guarantee everyone would have said she'll be dead or she'll be in prison. And that's just not the case today. So the healing process for us did include some medication assistance in the beginning. It included a deep dive into scripture and, like I said, not a religious practice, but spending real authentic time with God and my creator and saying, what do you say about me? And then choosing to believe it, to use my faith muscle and apply it. It just changed the way I saw myself and changed the way I was thinking, and things that I had done for so long, even after the initial hardcore drug use fell off, like even cigarettes or things that I started to separate. This isn't who I am. Like, I don't want to do this anymore because that's not who I am. And it's been that way for every incremental change, whether it's with just things that don't benefit my life anymore. Incorporating diet and exercise into our life um, as an important factor expedited the process. Like, from all the years of SSIs and psych medication, thinking we come in thinking like we'll always be this broken, we need these things to heal. But when I started incorporating breath work and whole foods and regular exercise into my life, that healed my mental health faster than any substance ever could or would. And so that was a key element in our healthy life and what it is today. And it's something I can teach my children and anyone who will listen, really, how much that matters in a healthy lifestyle. Today, well, let's go back. So shortly thereafter, we petitioned to get our children back right away, and within 6 months, they were returned to us, which was kind of unexpected and a lot, but it was just a divine appointment. God was working in our life, and once we said yes, things started to change so rapidly. Getting our kids back so quickly was a little scary, and you want to be a mom and dad and make up for things that you haven't been there for in the past, but it's a lot of responsibility. And anyway, that just happened really fast. And then let's see, May we got married. By Christmas, our kids were restored. Right before Christmas, they moved back in with us. And in January, I took a job as a janitor at my local church. I quit waiting tables, which was great money, but it was also a familiar environment that is conducive to alcohol and drug use. And I just knew that I wanted to do something that mattered. I was part of the problem for so long that I wanted to be a part of the solution, and for my story and the life that I had lived to not be for nothing, and to make an impact on the community that I was from, and to just start being a part of the healing process in this community instead of all the damage. And so I took a job at my church being the janitor, and just I remember praying, God, I want my life to leave beauty instead of destruction. Wherever I leave, I want to leave it more beautiful than I found it. And that prayer was answered through janitorial work, quite literally. And I stayed submitted there for 3 years. But I always knew that transitional housing and helping women heal would be a part of my life. I knew that it was my purpose even when I was using. I knew I'm going to be doing that someday. And I think in everybody that's addicted, we all want that, and we're all capable of it. We all have something to give. So if that's a desire of yours, I will say that God put that desire there, and that if you yield to the process, anything is possible. So I started doing my research on how to have a halfway house or a transitional house last summer, and got a mentor. And in January of 2025, opened Livingstone Outreach in St. Augustine South, which is a 7-bed residential home for women transitioning out of domestic violence, incarceration, substance abuse, or really any kind of crisis situation where a woman needs a reset and a respite, and to learn how to love themselves and begin a path towards healing and a new life. And it's been the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole life. But also, I know I'm in my purpose, and I am trusting the process, and I know that God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. And that when we say yes and we take that step of faith, that He'll meet us where we are, just like I'm doing with each and every woman that comes through here. Not demanding something from them, I'm meeting them where they are and letting my life be a living epistle of the glory of God. That if He can do it for me, He can do it for anyone. As out there as I was, He redeemed me. He restored my mind. I have a healthy body. I have my children back. We purchased our first home ever in June. And this is 2 addicts that couldn't even rub 2 pennies together. The journey has been nothing short of miraculous. And so sharing that, anytime I'm given the opportunity and giving hope and light to any woman or any person that needs it, is my purpose in life. And I'm so grateful to be alive, to be here, and to have the opportunity to impact anyone's life in the right direction, and to be a part of their journey and just love them. And I also know and tell myself every day that it's not up to me to, for the results aren't up to me. I can only do my part. So I just plant seeds and trust the process, that all those people along my journey that loved me right where I was, that spoke a word of encouragement, that planted a seed of faith, all of that led up to the final breakthrough and got me where I am today. So we can never ever underestimate the power of a seed. Thanks. Kind of short, but